Hi everybody, welcome back to another airbrush portrait step by step for the beginners and the advanced, because there'll be some little tips and tricks that you could pick up if you didn't really know. So we're doing a superhero, we're doing Superman today. I've projected this one up. This is the image that we're working from on the tablet here, so we can pinch and zoom in on Superman. So we're going to do this in a monochrome colour. Now the colour that I've picked today for this one is blue, and we're using FW inks. The actual model number of this paint is Indigo 127. I'll drop it in the bottom of the screen. So that's the one I'm using. The mixed ratio for this paint today, I'll pop up in the screen now. So that's the one that we are using. Now all I've done is I've just doubled up on this mix to make more of it. And I've got it in one of the little pots that you can put the lids on. Really handy little pots. I'll leave a link in the description to these because they're really handy. The brush that we're using today, I can't put it down at the minute. It's the new Harder and Steenbeck Evolution 2024 on a 0.28. This one is the sort of twin set where you get the bigger cup, the smaller cup, and you get the two needle and nozzle sizes. So you get the 0.28 and you get the 0.45 needle and nozzle in the box. Really nice brush to work with. Air pressure today, 22 on the main line, you can hear that, and then we're going to dial this back to around 7 or 8 psi, nice and low. And I always say before you start your project, have a cut piece of paper to the side. We take the prong cap off and we're just going to test the paint. Now as you can see, that is running really nice with that mix, and you can just build this up like a transparent. We can just build it up like that to get the darker tones and go in nice and light for the softer ones. So we're all set up. I'm going to move you in closer and I'm going to talk you through what we're doing. Other bits today, I've got some different shields that I've made, nice and simple. Pieces of cardboard, straight edge piece of cardboard. This is the actual paper we're using. People have asked about the paper that I'm using. I'll pop it up in the screen now. So this is the one I'm using, and I get this pack on A2 size from Hobbycraft. If you're in the UK, you can get it from Hobbycraft. If not, Amazon. You can get this on Amazon. I'll leave a link to the paper that I'm using. I find it really nice with this paint mix. It's not one that's really smooth. It's got a very slight texture to it, but it's nice to paint on because it's got that not very slippy surface, so it absorbs the paint nice. And then when you've got your pencil outlines that are left, as you've seen in the previous videos, you can erase the pencil lines out with a standard soft eraser, and you can just tidy up your pencil lines, knock them out of the way, and it just softens it up even more. So we've got some chopped out shapes. I've got those. We've got some of my Melee ones. I am going to be doing my own set of these, which will be really cool because I'm going to add some really good features to the stencils, which I think will be coming really handy when you're painting things like this. So it'll be a dual purpose stencil with other things on it that you can use. So that will be coming up. Other bits, we've got a bit of ripped paper knocking around somewhere. That will come out later on when we're doing some of this background effect to use, and we're going to use a cotton bud with some paint as well on this. We'll show you how to do that later, dipping that into the ink. We'll just have a little play with that. So I'll move you in closer and we will start Superman. See you in a minute. Right guys, we are ready to start. I'm just going to move over to the side again, do a little back bubble, get that paint nicely mixed up in that cup. And as you can see, this brush gets seriously down when you want it. Just get the paint mix right. And I've found the right paint mix with this FW ink. It works really well. You can get hairlines with this brush really easy. So our paint is flowing nice. We're going to jump straight in onto the eyes. And we're going to do some soft tones round the eyes, really soft, and just build that up. Jump onto this one. Nice and soft, just doing sort of dagger strokes, really light dagger strokes. Just give this tip a little clean. Nice control, going in nice and light. Tiny little dagger strokes, just puffing the paint in. Just a little bit of paint. Nice and light. So what I'm liking about this Evo at the minute is, if you've got one of the older ones, which are brilliant brushes, they really are. I own the Evolution Silverline Solo, which was my first Evo, still got it, and I've changed that up from a 02 up to a 015. You'll find with the new one, on the 028, the response, the release of the paint is a lot quicker. With the new trigger design here on the brush, and the actual top of the trigger top is a lot wider, and it's got a lot of rounded edges, so when you put your finger on it, you don't get that sort of sharp feeling you did with the old trigger if you're sort of heavy pressing down, because some people tend to really press down heavy on the brush. With the new one, it's just loads more comfortable. Doing these little creases up here, just working these in nice and light. So we're building up round the eyes. We're going to do a pass on the eyebrows. Just going to do some little dagger strokes, coming back, and just pass a little bit of paint in. We can build these up so nice and light. Same with this one. Building it up. Just darkening the tops of these eyebrows out. So they're coming in nice. A little bit around the bottom of this eye. In here. Fog a little bit in the corner of that eye. And darken that piece up. Coming round to this part of the eye again. A little bit darker in here. I'm just going to feather out down this way, so I'm going to angle the brush this way instead of going sort of straight on and hitting it. I want that soft fade coming across, so just flicking the brush down. I've got this part of the cheek here. This image is it's not very sharp. As you can see, when I blow that up, it just pixelates up, so I'm having to try and bring it back and work around here, so it is quite small looking at that. So we're working on this cheek here, so just puff a little bit of paint in. I'm just going to start from the centre. It's like a sort of triangle, but softens out either side, so just sort of work from the centre and just puff that out, coming down. This bit comes into the mouth, and you've got a dark under the lip. So we're just going to go a light pass, and we're just going to put this tone in round the bottom of the face. This rolls off round the bottom of the jaw, near the chin. This will go a lot darker up the side of the jaw here. You've got that little roll off. So nice and soft. Coming up this part, this on the image is really dark, but don't go dark too quick. We're going to just build this up nice and soft. We can always add a lot more paint. Now we've got the top of the lip where the nose is here. Again, this is really dark, and people tend to go bang and hit it dark really fast. We're just going to go in nice and soft. Coming up the side of the face here, up to the eye, a little bit at the bottom of the eye, down the side of the nose, a little bit in here. Alright, we'll work on the nose. We can go dark on this piece. And then we've got a dark coming down from that, nice and soft, around the curve of the nose, and a little crease coming off the nose here. Back on the side of the nose, and we've got a soft pass coming down here. Just coming into the top of the nose, front part here, just puff a bit of paint in. We can go darker. Bottom of the nose again. And now we're just going to start to darken it off. A little more tone in there. Move to the top part of his forehead here, so these crease lines come up a little bit more. A little bit where that hair is. Really nice and light. Little crease here. Another one, a little bit of a soft tone there. Coming up to this edge here, I'm just going in really light. I'm literally just puffing the paint, rocking the trigger. Tend to sit like that on the brush. You can see where my top finger is, and I bring my thumb up and I can press my thumb in to meet my finger, and it just completely steadies that movement up if you want to get minimal paint down. Now we've got like looks like a scar or something just going on here, so we'll just drop that in nice and light, puff a bit of paint round here, another little, we'll just drop some paint in here, that comes round to that cheek bit. So we've sort of mapped the face out. We've got a little bit here, that comes down a little bit further. So once you've got your first pass sort of mapped out like that, we'll get this ear in. So same again, we're going to puff a little bit of paint. A bit down that back edge. Just round here. No shields, just all freehand working with the brush. So we've got the face mapped, nice pass. We can start and just drop, we'll do all the skin sort of tone first pass around here. So we're going to work down back of the neck, so drop a bit of paint here, coming down. There's a crease here. And that sort of blends, coming down like that. Could go a little bit darker here. Crease coming down. Coming down to this piece in here, there's a dark crease here. I'm not going to go dark too quick. Just rocking and following the shape as I'm building the paint up. Start putting a pass on this piece. Put a tone in under his chin, down this edge here, round the bottom, and I've got my pencil lines that I can just sort of gauge where these shapes are that I'm following. Going nice and light. Just dagger strokes, controlled dagger strokes. I'm just going to build this line up here. That part of the chin. Coming up, we'll move on to the lips. We'll drop a tone in on the lips. Dagger strokes again, just controlling that trigger movement. A little bit of tip dry. I can just tell when it's tip drying up. Bottom of the lip. And you're basically just sort of mapping out the image in its first tone. Bit under this. This is dark here. So you can just go backwards and forwards and build that layer up. So we've got the face mapped, all the sort of points where they need to be. Piece there, we've got the bit coming down on this nose, just a little flick on the nose. Just a little bit more there. A little bit around the top of that nose. Crease can come in a little bit more there. Just gonna back onto this piece here, just toning this up a bit. Coming into this eye, this flick out needs to be a little bit more. So first pass, coming on quite nice. Do a little bit more painting here. Just a little bit up in there. I'm going to do a little pass here. The FW ink works amazingly well, it really does. It's a really nice paint to use when you thin it down. I used to use this straight out the bottle and it's really opaque, it's just really too dark. And after mixing it with the isopropanol and water, you can get these really soft shades out of it. It just works loads better. I'm going to move on to this crease here, it's a little bit darker here. And just come off that and just tone this up a bit. So the face features are in. Now we can go back over and just start to darken bits out now. Start to add some darks, just basically going over same again, just going over the top of it. building the tones up around this eye. A little bit under the bottom, not just. Darker in here. Right, we're going to start to bring the shields out just to sharpen up some edges. A little bit of shading in here. Coming up darker on these. Coming in darker on this bottom of the eyebrow. It's like a little darker line that just feathers out, and then just a little bit over the top. Just a little bit darker in this corner. A little fade out on that. Right, back onto the nose a little bit more here, it's darker. A lot darker in here. So just building it up. Under this eye. Coming down. Dark transition here. Another one here. Into this mouth. Dark with like a sharp shadow. So just using the shield just to create that sharpness around the nose. Sharpen them up because it's a sharp shadow. Same as here, we can do that freehand just here. Darken the bottom of that nose up. And we'll hold the shield up here and just follow that down and bounce a bit of paint that way a bit. Now we can bring this in. We will just hold the shield up to create that highlight a bit sharper. Coming down. Definitely darker here now. Bottom of the nose, we can just drop that in. Now we can darken this part of the nose off. And this is the beauty of working light. You can go your first pass in and then you can start toning it up and darkening it up as you go along. Drop onto this lip as this is dark. Under here. Flick there, follow the lip line. Just feather that out. That way we could shield this and just chuck a dark tone in here. That comes down with like a sharp transition there. darken this out. Around the bottom, and there's darker in here. A lot darker here. And here, I'm just going to drop the shield in here and create a sharper line and just fade that way. Top of the hair here, this is darker and sharper, so we'll just shield that, bounce that crease line in and fade up to that. Back on the top. Coming down the nose is that little line up in here. I'm just going to shape that a little bit this way and darken that line out in the eye. Darker here, and then darker on the bottom of this eyebrow. This crease, this piece at the top now looks darker, so drop a little bit more paint there, back over that, make it a little bit more prominent, take that crease a little bit higher, puff a little bit more paint in here, a little bit here on the top. Just drop some into the hairline, the tip of that hairline, going round. We'll just start to pop a bit of paint in here, separate that edge of the face, coming down. This bit tends to just fog into here very slightly, moving down to the jaw, darker here. I'm just going to run that down, and then we've got a line going up here. I'm just going to hold the shield away about 5mm and just spray. Darken this in. And there's a couple of light lines coming across. We're just going to tint this back. This crease here is darker, so we'll just run that down, and that fades out to this one. This comes up, and we've got that sort of rolls off that way. There's a couple of lines coming down. Comes up into this jawline a lot more. And this is a sharp line coming down. That's a little bit more. We're out of paint. We'll have a little pause. Right guys, a little pause. Now you can see when we moved in close, you can see how we're building this up, and now I'm sort of chatting to you as I'm going around it. I'm basically would be doing this, if I'm not on camera, I'd be talking how I am now as I'm painting. And you can just refer to what you're doing. If you're chatting to yourself, you probably get sectioned in the end if someone heard you. My wife's in the house, so she don't hear me what I'm saying. But you sort of talk to yourself and work your way around your picture. So going nice and light for a start. We went in with the first tone, and now we're just darkening it up and darkening it up. This is going to look a lot lighter. The minute we start to get these darks in the hairs, in the hairline round here, the hair will pop. And we may have to add more to this, especially in the eyes, to set them back, on the lips, on this shadow here. It's a lot darker. On this image, this is in the grayscale. On the thumbnail, which I'll pop up now, as you can see on the thumbnail, I've just changed the tone over. Now people are asking how you're changing it up. On the Samsung tablet, there's a art package that came with it, because I've got a light pen. And I can just go into it and change the contrasts and the tints and the hues and things like that. And I just sort of manipulate it to turn it also to a blue scale like this, so we can work in one colour. But I'm working from a grey scale on this. So all I'm doing is looking at where the shadows are and where the highlights are. Everything else is sort of penciled in for me, so I know where I'm going, and all I'm doing is concentrating on where the darks are, where the lights are, the soft tones and the sharp highlights and different shades on the image. So you're just working, and that's what I was doing as I was talking you around as we're moving around. So we're going to move on to the hair. We're going to get this in next. We'll get these darks in, buzz the hair in, then we can move back onto the face, see what that's looking like, and then we can start working down. See you in the next step. Right guys, I've just filled the brush up with some more paint, and always go to the side, and you can just see how well this, I mean look how fine this thing can get down. And just touching that trigger, and I'm not even moving back, it's basically, I'm just pressing down and it's releasing. It works so nice with this paint mix. I've got the warm air coming across again because the backache is still happening, and this is why I'm getting quite a bit of tip dry. Right, we're going to move on to the hair. Just going to go straight in freehand with this. Dagger strokes follow the shapes. Light pass, and we're just going to build it up. Little dagger strokes, just building these hair textures up. The hair on my image may look slightly different to the one on the reference, but we're going in the same sort of shapes. So as I've always said it, when you stand back and look, it will look as close to the reference. So just little dagger strokes moving with a brush. And this is basically near enough a solid tone here, so I'm just going to come off the shield and just puff that in. Same here. Off the shield, just bounce a bit of paint in. Same as round this ear. Working up here, just following the shapes. It's very dark in this piece on the hair here, so I'm just building it up. Not going too dark too quick, because you can still keep them hair textures in that space, even though that space looks black on the image. It's still nice to put some of them strands in there. It just gives you more of that realistic tone. This is quite sharp here, so I'm just going to puff a bit of paint in, just working them dagger strokes. This is what I said by, if you want to practice to do things like this, it's your techniques, it's dagger strokes. You're doing this for the hair. So up close, gets you the real fine ones, backing off, gives you that broader filling. And it's practicing with your brush, moving with your brush. A lot of beginners tend to be a little bit slow and they grip hold of the brush really tight. Loosen your body, bring your other hand up to your brush, so you create a triangle, pivot from your waist, nice and loose, and just move and bounce with your brush like that. Different ways. And the quicker you can move with the brush, instantly your finger will move to the speed of what you're doing. Coming round, we've got these. Just going to build these up round here. Like that. Coming round, this is quite filled in here. So little dagger strokes, just building the paint up. Little dagger strokes again, just filling it in with dagger strokes. Moving up here, just build this up, around here, and any lines that are left, we're just going to erase them out. And then we'll have all our areas covered that we can just work on. These are like the foundations of the picture, and then once we nib out all these lines, we've got the first pass to second pass of paint down, and then we can just go over the top and just start darkening it out where we need to. A little bit of shadowing under there. This will go a lot darker here. Right, get some more in here. A little bit more flick out here, just flicking the brush, little dagger strokes. Do a little pass in here. Just gonna get some nice little just fog that edge in there. Flicking the brush. Now we've got a little edge round his head here. Sort of got like a dark line. Just going to fog that in. Like that. A little bit darker here. Over the ear. That comes around this way. And start to darken the sideburn out. So we've got the first sort of dark pass of hair in. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to go in with the eraser and just knock out some of the pencil lines. And this will just soften it up. Nib over there. That tidies that up. A bit around the eye. Jawline. It just cleans them up. Right, we've got a little bit that comes round this. I'm just going to put a very light pass in here. It's just round this jaw, round the cheek coming round. I've got the hair coming down the bottom behind the ear here. Very minimal paint. Just bouncing off that shield. We've got a shadow behind and at the bottom of the ear here, and that comes into that, separates with that jawline, so just bounce a bit off. Just separate the bottom of that ear. Now we can just feather in the ear a bit more where it goes darker. Just tips in there. A little bit behind the ear there. Fogging a little bit more here. That comes up. And we've got a little bit of shading just at the back of that ear. And around this edge. A little bit darker here. Bring that shadow down a little bit there. I'm just going to do a separation for the bit here. Coming down into that crease and drop a little bit more tone here. Coming down. A little bit there. I'm not bothered about any overspray going over this piece here because we've got like a splash sort of effect coming up, like smoke type. So any paint that goes into that, I'm not bothered about that. Back down to the bottom of the chin. We're going to start bringing this in a lot sharper now. Darkening it out on this lip. Control on your paint on how much you're putting down. That comes into a dark here. A lot darker. Just a little bit more on this. And at the side of the nose. Little pass there, a little bit darker here. Coming up to this cheek again. It's quite a prominent shape across there. Darken this one out. This little bit here is a lot darker and then feathers down. A little bit more on that. Roll this jaw a little bit more. Darken that slightly, bring that down. Just a little bit on the corner of that mouth. Go back in and darken that. And you're just going round and adding and adding and adding. Tip dry, I can tell. Back up to the eye. darken this out here, up into this. Down here's a lot darker. It's in that shadow. And here. Bring a bit over that eye. Increase that just a touch in there, darker. Darker in here. Coming up. This crease, just bring that around a bit, darker in this one. Just fog a little bit more in. Here, a bit on this edge here. A bit more under that eye, a little bit more in that pupil there. And just a little bit more coming round there. That's more of a point. So just sort of chat to yourself as you're going round and just make sure no one's listening to you. But that's all I tend to do. I just chat, and you're sort of double checking yourself if you're chatting as you go along. It just gives you that, makes you concentrate on each piece a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more as you're going round. And just dot some more darks in on the hair, especially here. And on these. Working that hair in a bit more. Put some darker tones in. Just following maybe, just put that darker tone over and sharper darker tone, and it makes the other bits set back. It just builds the hair up. Bounce off the shield, give that a little bit of a texture there. So we are getting there. That does come into that. A little bit darker here. Better. This is going a lot darker on this ear. Round. And just fog that in. A little bit coming up there. Drop some paint down on that. Definitely darker on this. Just a little bit there, drop a little bit. And then you can just work around again, you can just start to see where you need to go darker. See, if you go dark too quick, you then try to, you take that full-on darkness straight through the picture. But if you build it up light, it'll just start to blend in a lot better. Little eyelashes, just them little bits sticking out. What we'll do now is we'll just grab the Posca paint pen and we're just going to drop and that just instantly pops the eyes, brings them forward, drop a bit on there, smudge and flick. Like that, I can just highlight the top of that lip a little bit better. Like that. Just pop them out a bit. A bit in there. The beauty of the Posca paint pens. Especially working with this, you can just smudge and smudge it back. That'll just knock some of these lines that we don't want out the way. So that's good for the first sort of pass on the face. We can go a lot darker and just keep building it up, because I've got a lot more darks on this hair to drop in. But I think working with the FW, it dries down with the isopropyl, where it dries down, not it just sinks and dries in really nice, and you can just keep building it up. It's a really nice paint to work with. That part of the coming down a lot darker here. Moving back down onto the neck. Just that little. Coming down on this is a lot darker. And goes into that deep crease there. Dark here. Coming up into this bit, down here, just fade that in, just looking at the reference and just trying to match it the best I can. Coming down, I've got them little flick outs. A little bit of a tone in here, just coming down. That is, drop a little bit in there. Coming up. Coming up this side here, we've got that, got a little one here, and we've got the line, a couple of lines. One goes that way, one goes up here like that. That line's a little bit longer. Down, drop a little sort of lines out there. Right, so we've got that in. We're going to start working down the bottom bit now and do the cloak, put the S in. We'll have a little pause, I'm going to make a cup of tea and I'll see you in 5. Right guys, we're moving on to the bottom section now. We're going to start the cloak at the side, freehand going in. Nice and light. Just going to do a pass of paint over these bits. Both sides. And then we can do some sharper lines with some shields in a minute. Bit of cardboard up and we'll just come off that, flick up, a little bit on that shoulder coming round, a little bit darker here. So it'll pass a paint in. I'm going to map it out all nice and light. Puff in a little bit of paint. Working round here, so just puff a little bit of paint. What have we got here? We can sharpen this edge up because we've got a dark in here, so we can come this way or this way to get this line in. Just drop that little crease in there a little bit more. What will work into this piece. Just a nice soft pass. It's got a little type of crease in it, so we'll just come off there very slightly. Same that way, just bounce back off that shield that way. Sort of dark in here. Coming round to this side, there's a little bit of softness flicking off here, a little bit here. This is dark here. There's sort of a line here. Just move the shield along. Alright. Coming over. Dark along here. Coming down, softer. And we can get rid of the pencil lines in a minute. Here. Dark under here. Working round a bit darker there. That's going to come up a little bit darker in there. Right, we've got a couple of little tip dry. And we're out of paint. Let's top the paint up. Little back bubble, mix it up. Test on the side. Put the cap on. Little blast out on the side. Right, a few little passes around here. Start to just darken this one off. Come down the bottom of the S and just drops a tone in. Come up this side of the S. I've got a little bit bouncing onto that centre, but it doesn't matter because that has got a little bit of tone in it. Up here. Just going to go down these paint runs, drop a little bit of paint over here, start filling these little bits up. Just a little fogged out on them paint runs coming down and the dots. I'm just going to dust some in round here. Here, just start to dust a bit of paint in. Coming under here. Dust a bit in, got this bit here, get the shield, just put this line in, dust it in. This has got a little sort of a little V line there, dust a little bit more in. It's going nice and light, we're just putting down sort of the first pass. coming up in here. Dust a bit in. Moving over here, and that piece is in. Down on here. A little bit in here. A little bit here. Just giving it a tone. A little bit more down here. We can just start to sharpen out. Piece of paper. Now we can just go back in and start freehand shaping this up now. Darkening bits out. You can see I'm just using the shield just to bounce off to create the shapes, to get the sharp where I need it. I've got a sharp in here. Rolls into this. Just sharpen that up. Down here. Along here. That comes up. Got that sharp here. Tone that in. Hold that and just come off of this. Just get the nice feathered out bits on the cape. Coming across. Up to the top. I'm just doing dagger strokes from one point to the other point, moving round. Moving round here. and that one just. Coming down this piece. It's quite a dense line, that is. Coming round here, this is quite a dark pass here. Dark crease in shadow there, softer. Back over to this side, a little bit more here. Moving in here, I'll just put it. This is darker. A lot darker here. And here, and just start to fade this out. Just working at different distances to get something nice and darker and sharper, going closer. You want to get that softer edge. Just back off with the brush. You're probably using the same amount of trigger, but you're just moving back. Darker in here. Coming up around this bit here. Right, let's get into this piece. Just going to hold that there on that tip of that edge. Come down. Sharpen that line up there. And just work round on the dark, holding up on a nice sharp edge. Can go that side, that side, on here. And we can just fill in the gaps, freehand. Bit in here. Line across here. Drop that little curve in, you can use a shield. Coming round, that's got a little bit of like that. Got this drop shadow, just a little bit. Like that. Coming into this bit, can use the piece of paper again, just to sharpen things up, like that. and then freehand the middle. So you create the sharp edge either side and then just go in and freehand the next piece. That comes round on a curve. Line there, just a little. Coming down this side, it's darker under here, so we can just blast some painting down here. Same as this way, hold the shield. Blast some paint in. And then work it up. A little bit more here. We've got a darker line here. And in here. Coming round. All the way. Drop shadow. Little line here for the drop shadow. Sort of getting in the zone, guys, and I'm not chatting too much. So basically just go in light when I'm in the first pass and just building it up. And then going back over. And working it in. Coming round. That's sort of gone in nice. Once these lines are knocked out, get rid of the lines. You just start to merge everything in. Darken some bits up, we've got that bit there. Just drop that in. Shadow in. A little bit here. This is a little bit darker coming round over there. A little bit more of a shade here, because I've got a highlight in there. Let me just start to shade this up a bit. A bit darker in here. Tone in there, coming up. Just going to do a little bit, pop them out a bit. Give it a little darker line here. Coming in here. Start to darken things out and sharpen things up. Same this side. Start to bring them over. There. Darker on there. And then a little bit more on that bit. A little bit there. We're nearly there, guys. We are nearly there. Out of paint. Just a little bit more paint. Right, we're going to drop these little bits in here. I'm just going to fog these in and create these shapes. They're probably slightly different, but it gives it just that look. And then we can get rid of the pencil lines after. And we can now go over the edge of this. That into there. Just flicking the brush, creating I'm basically doing a dot pattern and just moving the brush around to create that. Little bit here, just soften that up. A few more little dots. Moving on to this side, bring your dots in. This is what I mean by Once you get your accuracy down, you can just go straight in and you can hit them where you need them. Take this over dark and then just fog some in. Some little bits. Little pass on that. A little dark bit up here. Coming over. Just flicking the brush. You can do it by moving in and out closer, just to give you that sort of texture. I've got a sharper line on the back of his neck, so I'll drop that in. That can blend into that. A little bit more in here. It's not mirror matched to the picture, but it just gives you that similar looking. I'll do a little bit more on this one, like that. I'm going to go darker in these, on this line. Coming in here, I'm going to go darker. A little bit of fogging up on that, a little bit darker in here. Right, coming round, that's there. Right, I'm going to try something for the drips. We're just going to get a cotton bud. Soak a cotton bud in paint. We're going to darken these up and just run them down like that. Put a few extra ones in. And we'll use the cotton bud just to wipe round all this and give it that watercolour. Washed out look. Dip your cotton bud in the paint and create some textures. It's not always got to be done with the airbrush. Right, that'll do for that. We'll go back over these and just darken some bits up. And with these. A lot darker here. Bring them down a bit. Dots. Right, I think we're nearly there. It's a little bit darker on these bits. Right, that'll do for painting. What we're going to do now is just go in with the eraser and just start to knock out the unwanted bits of pencil. And then we'll pop some highlights in on the runs to give them a 3D look. Just spotted I need a line across here, from there to there. Let's get a shot of these. We'll go back in with the brush in a minute and just tidy some bits up. If we need to go darker anywhere we can. Take these out. Right, that's the lines taken care of. Now I'll just go back in and just darken out. Some of these lines. Pop them forward a bit. That's better. Yeah. Probably a little bit darker on this. Make that a little bit more. Prominent there. Yep. A little bit darker on this. Pop that line a little bit more. And here. Probably pop this one a little bit more. Give that a little bit more. There, and we're going to pop this bit here. A little bit more. There, darken that line out. Same here. That's looking better. A little bit darker under here. coming round. I think we're going to go with that, guys. I think we can keep going in and just darkening and darkening bits out, but I think that will do. It's come out quite nice in that tone. Got all them bits in. Just go round double checking. A bit more there. We've got one in there. Got a couple of bits. Probably go a little bit more than that. Take that up into there. I think that'll do. Yeah, I'm going to call that one done, guys. Going to drop a little bit of Posca on these dots just to give them a little highlight on the drips. Like that. Little bit of highlighting in places. Let's put the Posca on and wipe it. Got a bright one about here. Little bit either side of that. Just need a dot, so I'm just going to spray either side of the cotton bud to give me that pinpoint dot. Yep, I think we're going to do it that. That's come out quite good. There you go, guys, we've got Superman down. Hope you picked up enough along the way. I was sort of, in parts I weren't chatting, I was just got into the zone and I was painting. But we've used shields, they come in really handy. I've used Melee ones and I've used pieces of cardboard. We used a cotton bud, dipped it in the paint and done some bits and just over here and smeared it down to give it that sort of watercolour type look at the bottom. We've used a Posca paint pen to drop some of the highlights in. Did a cool little trick where I just wanted a dot highlight. So to get a bright highlight, you need to put a dark either side of it. So literally just held the cotton bud against the paper and sprayed off each side, and it gave me that little highlight that we needed on the image just here. The little dot highlight. Built it up nice and slow. Best advice is to go in nice and light, guys. You've seen how light we went in on this, and we could still go darker on this and just keep darkening things up. And that's the beauty of mixing this FW ink. I think it's brilliant, especially with the isopropanol mix. It's really good. It goes very sort of transparent and it just atomizes really well. We've got the nice soft shades in, and then we just started to build it up as we go along, using the shields to sharpen things up. A lot of freehand, but your freehand will come with practice and time, like moving on some of the long lines and knowing where to go and pinpointing. This is why I say practice your dagger strokes are key. Dagger strokes, and then being able to go in and pinpoint. Like I was just going in, I knew exactly where to go, where the paint was going to go on the paper by aiming. And that's with your dots and lines, dagger strokes. backing off with your brush, practicing your softer strokes for transitions where you can go from a dark to a soft. We mapped all the image out in one tone, then just built the tones up and it's come out. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Drop your comments, tell me your thoughts. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and all the comments that are coming across. Really appreciate it, guys. I'm glad you're enjoying these talk through ones because I like doing these, and this style of artwork, it's nice, it's got some nice details in there, and the monochrome look looks really cool. If you were to do this on a car, if this was on a silver car and you did this in Candet and clear coated over the top, it would look incredible. It would just pop, and you could really pop it with white highlights as well. So thanks a lot. See you in the next one, guys.